Today is Monday, March 2nd, and this is the ADM Investor Services Weekly Market Kickoff. Please note that the views and opinions expressed here today are solely those of our guests and should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or ADM. Today's guests are Steve Freed, Vice President of Grain Research at ADMIS, and Alan Bush, ADM Investor Services Senior Financial Economist. Alan, start with the financial markets this morning. How is the coronavirus affecting global central bank policies?
Well, the central banks around the world are very much, I believe, going to react to the anticipated slowdown of the global economy, so much so that the Fed is likely to cut rates by 50 basis points at their upcoming meeting. That will be the March 18th meeting. Also, there's talk that there could be another 2 rate cuts. I don't believe two more. I think maybe just another one of 25 basis points. Also, the European Central Bank will probably cut rates later this year. They're already in negative interest rate territory, likely to become even more negative. So central banks are going to become very accommodative, and they're going to be very aggressive in adding liquidity to the banking systems.
Why did the gold market decline so much on Friday when gold is usually a safe haven asset?
Right. Well, some traders were questioning the validity of that very same premise that gold is a safe haven asset. And of course it is. It has been for thousands of years. And it will continue to be. But Friday was an unusual day with the stock index futures and markets falling so fast. Many traders, including, I would have to say, many equity traders, needed to meet margin calls. They sold everything, including those markets that they actually should have been buying. Of course, gold is a lot higher today. So it was a liquidation situation in the gold on Friday.
And Alan, finally, when will the coronavirus peak in the United States?
I was hoping you would not ask me that question, but I'm going to try to answer that. For the last 36 years, there has been a tendency for flu activity to peak in February. Now, there's a 4-month main period from December through March, but the most likely peaking time in those 36 years has been in February. So, of course, the coronavirus is not directly comparable, I think, to some of the previous situations. This is a brand new virus, but I believe there's a ray of hope that could possibly be the case. I'm hoping that the situation and the numbers have peaked in February. We'll see what happens, but it's a bit of a stretch, maybe, but I'm optimistic.
I think we all hope that you're right, Alan. Steve, let's turn to the grain markets. How did grain futures change in the month of February?
Wheat was down 27 cents, corn 19. Actually, beans finished up a penny. Meal was up $9, and soybean oil was down about 165 points. So it seemed like the food and feed ingredients took more pressure because of the virus spread. And then soybeans and meal, I think, have been supported by the fact that Argentina's drying out. They had some financial problems with their crushers, and the farmers not selling. And we might actually get some business because of that, and that's helping meal prices.
Speaking of business, Steve, China can now buy U.S. ag goods under Phase 1 of the new trade agreement. Is there any talk of new China buying?
Yes and no. I think that there was a minister in China that came out and said they wanted to buy pork, and they wanted to buy 10 million tons of U.S. soybeans. We haven't seen that yet. Other things that they could buy is dairy products. They're talking about buying some wheat, and they're talking about maybe buying some ethanol. They probably won't buy any corn because our corn quality is not that great. And there also is cheaper corn available to them in the world, like from Ukraine. But if they were to fill up their inventories that they let draw down, it could be a significant amount of purchasing that they do in the next few months.
Steve, the coronavirus is raising concerns about global food, feed, and fuel demand. Are there any other factors that will impact grain futures price direction other than coronavirus?
Well, I think we were already bearish corn because of the talk about good Brazil crop, good Black Sea crops, the fact that export demand in corn is slower than what we need to get the USDA numbers, the fact that farmers are going to raise acres in 2020 here, and also the fact that if there is another payment to farmers because of what's going on, that might encourage more farmer planted acres. In the beans, it's just a wait and see if China's going to buy beans or not. That's the most important thing for the bean market, even though we're talking about a record Brazil crop. And in the wheat, seasonally, this is when we tend to trade lower in the wheat market as we go into the growing season. There looks to be no problems in southern plains, no problems in Europe, no problems in Russia, no problems in India, and also it's starting to rain in Australia. So I think the markets have some defensive inputs other than the coronavirus that could sink prices lower later in 2020.
At the same time, I would think that if the coronavirus does peak and we have stimulation by the central banks, I mean, we could really see, and let's say China comes in buying U.S. ag goods, I mean, we could see some really explosive markets over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the markets will just snap right back to where they were before the virus. If we can control it, and if the numbers start declining and the world starts adding to their inventories.
Alan, let me ask the same question to you. The Fed lowers the Fed funds rate by
Right.
50 basis points, and the coronavirus starts to peak, or it has peaked.
Right.
Things are improving. How big of a bull impact can that have on the stock market?
It will be a massive bullish influence. All of the stimulus that's coming from around the world, from central banks, and this issue that has been so much in focus, so much talked about, if it is going away or less talked about or less need to talk about it, there could be a substantial move higher in stock index futures.
Very interesting markets right now. Thank you both. Remember, the views and opinions expressed today on this video are solely those of our guests, should not be construed as the views or opinions of ADM Investor Services or ADM. If you'd like more information about our brokerage services, would like to speak to one of our experts about managing your risks, or would like to open a trading account, please visit www.admis.com.